Hello my friends, welcome back to another tutorial, another week of painting. This week I'm going to paint a lovely rich sunset, okay? Just a change from our regular kind of painting, what we did last week with the boy with the water. I think that turned out absolutely fabulous. I'm very happy with the result. So I'm framing it and I'll stick it on one of my walls, or I might put it up for sale, I'll see. Anyway, this week, I don't know if you can see behind me here on my phone, I have a little sunset full of purples, pinks and oranges and yellows. So a nice subject for this week's lesson. Some nice reflections as well, and some trees in silhouette. So I thought something nice and colourful this week. I hope you don't mind. You might get a couple of hints and tips from it. Do subscribe if you haven't done so. You're missing so much fun and you know, nice basic techniques. We're still in full lockdown here in Ireland, but we're opening slowly in another couple of weeks. It's very frustrating when you can't go out. Now they have opened up the 5 kilometre, so you can travel all around the county, but you know, everything is still closed, so there's no point really, unless you want to go to a beach or you know, something like that. But in general, everything is still locked down, so people are getting very frustrated, and it's very slow. The rollout of the vaccine is very slow, so it's going to be months and months before most people get the vaccine, I would say. So it's very slow the way they're doing things, but we just have to carry on and keep going. Anyway, I hope you're all keeping safe. Let's have a bit of fun with this and crack on and get our brushes out and get some colour on some canvas. Don't go anywhere. Okay, here we go. Now, my canvas is 20 by 8, okay, a nice wide canvas. There's the photograph. Isn't that just gorgeous? I thought just the colours in this really just catches your eye. I think this will make a fantastic little, nice small tutorial. So I better tell you what colours I have. A very colourful, bright palette today. I have Naples yellow. Now I have 3 different yellows because, you know, instead of me opening tubes as I go, I like to just have a few different choices. So I start with Naples yellow, titanium white, cadmium yellow pale, cadmium yellow deep, some cadmium red, alizarin crimson, a little burnt sienna. I have some burnt umber, phaylo blue and black. They are my colours. Now, just making sure now you can see everything okay. I'm recording on my phone and I have everything set, so everything is locked in place. There should not be any difference in brightness or zoom or anything like that, okay? Everything is locked. So I'm going to try it with my phone today because there's very good picture quality on the phone. So let's go. I have my canvas masked with masking tape here just for my horizon line, okay? That's my horizon line. I primed my canvas once with just a regular water-based undercoat, and then I gave it a very light rub with some sandpaper, so it's lovely and smooth. Now what I'm going to do today is I am going to give my canvas a rub with some of my thinners, okay? Now this thinners has a turpentine and linseed oil in it, okay? It has about 80% turpentine to 20% linseed oil, roughly, okay? Give or take a little or more of each. But you can see, that's it. It's just genuine turpentine for artists and normal linseed oil, refined linseed oil, okay? So I'm going to give my canvas a light rub with this. Now you can see we have some very bright colourful clouds up there, some nice yellowy clouds against that kind of bluey plummy background. What I want to do is I just want to mark some of my brighter clouds, okay? Because if I paint all of this kind of pinky blue plummy colour, then I try to put on my yellow clouds, it's going to go a very mucky colour. So I'm going to just very loosely suggest some of the yellowy clouds, just so I can go around these, okay? I don't want to make a very mucky, messy kind of a sky. So I'm going to bring my line where the yellow comes down. It comes kind of down like that, doesn't it? It's just very loosely. So I can avoid this when I'm painting my plum colour then, you see. I can just go around those. Now, let me take some of my thinners. I get some tissue, just a small bit of tissue. Okay. Now don't worry if you go over your pencil lines. I'm just very, you see, just very, very loosely, look. And all it's going to do is just take the dryness out of my canvas, because they can be quite dry. This is not a very expensive canvas. It's just a regular cheap canvas that you'd buy in any craft store or even a discount store, if you will. And they're very kind of dry sometimes. I like to use them for tutorials. If I'm doing a commission for someone, or if I'm doing a really big painting, like the last one I did, I will buy a very good quality canvas, a good expensive quality canvas, because they are fantastic. Now that is a very light coat of thinners just over that, okay? Very, very light. That's it. I'm going to let that set just for a couple of seconds. Just let that kind of take the canvas, leave it kind of go into the canvas grain slightly. Let's have a look at our brushes. We have a large stubby brush, a small stubby brush, we have a medium stubby brush, and we have some various other soft brushes, okay? A couple of pointy ones. I use soft synthetic brushes. That's my preferred brush, okay? You can use bristles, they're just fine. I do have a couple of nice soft bristly type ones here, which I got as a gift. They're very soft bristle. It's fantastic, really nice. I might try that. And a couple of cheap fan brushes. Okay, that's kind of all you need. You don't have to go to a huge expense for painting. I promise, you really don't. Let's crack on and have a bit of fun with this. I'm going to start with my bright. I was going to say I'd start with my bright yellows, but you know what? I think I'll start with the kind of bluey background that we have up there in the background. Yeah, will we try that? Let's go. Let's dampen our brushes just into the thinners, and then I'll take the excess off with my tissue. So I'll dip it in my turpentine, it's soaking, then I'll just take off the excess, okay? So we have only very slight damp brush. Remember, the canvas is slightly damp as well, only slightly. Let's go and mix a nice colour for this. So I'm going to start with phthalo blue anyway, okay? Then I'm going to take some crimson, because it's a very nice plum, isn't it? You can see how thin that is, look. It's showing right through onto my paper palette. Then I'll take some white. And the white now will start to thicken this right up, like a real thick, creamy colour. And I'm going to keep adding then my colours as I need. If I think I need a bit warm, I'm going to just add some crimson. So we have a nice warm, pinky kind of a colour up there. Now that's not bad. I think I might go with that for now. In fact, I think I'll deepen it. I'm going to make it slightly deeper, richer. Let's take some more crimson. And another little hint of phthalo blue. And you can see I'm only using tiny amounts. The way I take my colour from my palette is I don't go in and just go like that, okay? I just push the brush into the corner of the paint like that, look, and I leave the bristles, pull some out, because it's only a tiny bit I want. Do you understand? Only the tiniest little bit. Unless you're taking a lot of paint. But I generally, especially with the blue, because it's a very rich colour. Now, I may even take a hint of cadmium red into this as well, because that is really quite warm and rich. I'm going to leave, see, I'm just leaving some of my yellow clouds. It'll just make life much easier for me later on. And this is really just kind of a base coat. I'll be putting extra colour on top of this. So this is not the final colour. Let's take some more crimson, some more cadmium red. The cadmium red just kind of gives it that warmth. A little phthalo blue. And I'm going to even add that slightly warmer colour, look, towards the bottom. Especially around the sun, where that bright centre is. Soften that upwards. And these soft brushes are fantastic because you see, look, you can get rid of all your brush strokes and make it nice and soft all the way across. Now, as we come across, I'm going to start cooling it ever so slightly. But first, I just want to go across the top here, across the centre. Now, as it comes over to the right-hand side, I am going to cool it. You can see it gets kind of cooler, doesn't it? So I'll just take some more phthalo blue into my mix and add that in. And you can see I'm using very thin layers. You know, I get a lot of comments from people kind of learning how to get to grips with oil paints, and they always say to me, you know, my colours are mixing too much, they're getting very messy on the canvas. I can't seem to get one layer on top of the other. To be honest, all I can say is, for me, I keep my colours very, very thin. And when I mean thin, when I say thin, what I mean is it's very translucent. It's a very, very, very thin coat of paint. Okay? Little bit of white in there. So I'm going just cooler now. I'm just adding more blue as I come over. I'm going to soften it out there. Now, as it comes down by this kind of orangey colour, you don't want it blue, okay? So you want to add more pink as it comes down by the orange. Because believe me, when you go to put the yellow on, it'll mix in wonderfully then. You don't want a blue against the yellow because you'll end up with green as soon as they mix and blend together, okay? So I'm just putting a little pink down there, soften it up. We'll soften that across. And that is, I think, the base of our, up the top of our sky done. Now I might add just a light blue up there, because there's a kind of a bright glow in the sky up there, isn't there? So let's take some phthalo blue and a little white. Just, I think, even those two, I know it's slightly more pink in the picture, but I just think this hint of a light blue up there will just catch your eye, won't it? And let's just go across the centre very gently. And the oil on the canvas now is really working very well. It's really helping me a lot. So I'm done now with the top. I'm going to, let me see. I'm going to put this brush down. Now I could use this, but there's blue in this. If you attempt to mix a yellow with this, it'll get so messy, it'll just be impossible. So I'm going to put that down and get another green stubby brush, okay? A clean one. And let's start doing yellows. I'm going to start with my cadmium yellow first. And into that, I'm going to put some cadmium red. The aim is to make a nice, rich orange, okay? Let's take some Naples yellow. The reason I'm taking Naples yellow primarily is only just to thicken the paint, okay? Because if you use cadmium red and cadmium yellow on their own, it's a very kind of transparent colour. I want a nice kind of a thick colour. So I'm going to start with that here. And don't worry about that bright white or yellow spot in the centre, okay? I'm going to go right through that. I'll mix another little bit of that. Let me just dampen my brush and give it a rub on some tissue, because the fibres are slightly hard on my brush. I just want to soften it slightly. So some cadmium yellow, Naples yellow, and a little... Do you know what? I might try a little crimson for a change. I think that might give us a slightly richer orange. Let me try this here now. Okay, that's not bad. Let's bring this right across. And you can see how translucent my colour is. Look, you can almost see, you can see right through to the canvas underneath. Let me try some of this cadmium yellow deep for a change. Let's just give it a go because it's there, so we might as well try it. With some crimson. Well, that's a nice colour now, isn't it? That's nice, and that's a nice rich colour. Crimson, cadmium yellow deep, and a tiny amount of turpentine. The tiniest little amount. scrape this in. Now, you can see I left a white line. You can see that? My reason for that is, if I go right up into this colour and mix them, it's going to get very mucky and kind of a browny, tingy, kind of a greeny colour. What I want to do now is just get a nice warm layer of the pink right across there, okay? But I want to soften it with the yellow and the pink together. So I'm going to take some crimson. Basically now what I'm going to do is take some crimson with some yellow, okay? Now I'm more crimson in this, okay? You can see it. There's a lot more crimson. So that will neutralise the chances of anything kind of going green or what have you. So it's much easier to mix a pinky orange into a plum rather than mixing a yellowy orange, okay? You see what I mean? And go up there now and soften that into the pink and then bring it down. I'm just drying my brush a little. Give my brush another quick clean, and I'm going to go over to the other side and bring down some of that nice warm colour. I'll take some Naples yellow in this actually as well. I'm going to soften this down into the yellow, look, because it's getting warmer as it goes away from the sun. It's getting kind of darker and deeper and richer as it leaves the centre of the canvas, okay? So I might even take a hint of burnt sienna in this mix. Really warm, that orange, look, you see? Isn't that lovely? And then I'm going to go really dark towards the outside, so I get some crimson, a little burnt sienna. I'm using tiny amounts of paint, you see? Tiny, tiny amounts. And I'm going to soften that outwards. Then I'm going to take some pink on its own with this plummy colour and I'm going to soften it into that sky up there, okay? Now I'm not following the exact direction of that sky because I want these to mix nicely together. I'm going to soften it upwards. Let me get some more pink. Pick up a hint of that mauve. I'm going to just soften it over here as well. Up there into that lovely plum. You don't have to copy your reference photograph exactly. You can add your own little touches of colour into it. Okay? You really can. Now we can always kind of add more plum onto the background of this if we wish. Okay? Shall we try it? I'm going to go back to my other brush. And let's mix another little bit of plum. Tiny, tiny bit. So, phthalo blue, some crimson, okay? And a little white. I think we had a little white in that as well, didn't we? Now, let's go back and add a bit of plum into that. And you can see how dry now, I'm really kind of dragging my paint across. That's how dry my canvas is. It's really, really dry. Okay, now, let me just stand back for a moment and take a quick look at this. Well, that's not bad. It's not too bad. I think I'll start now with my warm clouds, my nice bright yellows. So I'm going to start now by just taking a slightly smaller brush, okay? First of all, I need to take a sip of coffee. Oh, you can't beat a nice cup of coffee in the morning. Isn't that right? Let's dampen this brush. And I'm going, now we have a very bright silhouette in there, don't we? Bright yellow against that black tree. So let's get some cadmium yellow. with a little Naples yellow. I'm using just paint on its own, okay? I did dampen my brush, but I dried it very, very well. And I'm going to take some Naples yellow, cadmium yellow, and I'm going to really just get lots of thick paint now. And I'm going to go right into the center here with this, okay? I'm going to soften this outwards. I always start in the center and soften outwards, okay? Because the center is where it all starts, it's where it all happens. If you go over here and start putting yellows on, you're going to end up with yellowy patches here and there. So, especially with something like this, I always like to start in the center and soften colours outwards. Alright? So you can see now, you begin to see it sort of taking shape. Some wonderful colours in this, isn't there? Now, dry my brush again. Take some titanium white with cadmium yellow pale. Okay? And it's not, the colour in this is not a very, very whitey yellow. It's just a very rich, bright yellow. It's not a whitey yellow. I know typically with sunsets like this, or I don't know, is it a sunset or a sunrise? Probably a sunset. Typically people would put a bright spot of white right in the centre to show the sun, the brightness of the sun, but I don't think it needs very, very bright whitey colours. I think a rich, rich yellow seems to kind of suit this a lot more. Okay, now, I need to start putting in some of my clouds. My clouds, even though they're bright yellow, I'm going to start off with a very rich, kind of an orangey colour first, okay? I'm going to take some cadmium red, little hint of crimson, and a little hint of cadmium yellow deep. Let me just start off with this colour first. Okay, it's much easier to start off with a pink against a plum background rather than putting a yellow. If I put a bright yellow in there, it's going to mix with the purples here and go kind of a mucky green. Okay, so I'm starting off with a very warm orange first. A little bit more pink even. And we have a couple of nice warm ones kind of darting around here and there. You see, I'm just very loose with my brush. Let's put a couple over here. And we have a couple, one or two nice ones up there, coming into the painting. So you can see I'm just dabbing some rich pinky orange onto my plum, okay? Now let's go and put one or two nice ones here. Clouds are very sporadic, they're very kind of, there's no regular pattern with clouds, they're very random. So try not to kind of make everything exactly the same. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make as well, a lot of beginners especially. They tend to put three big round clouds together and it just doesn't look natural. Let's go down and start going into some of our orange here. You can see there's a very rich kind of a cloud coming through here. And what I generally tend to do with sunsets like this is I always leave my bright yellows until the very end. Okay? I just find it much, much easier to work like that. So I start from my dark colours and bring them up. Now I'm going to put in this very dark cloud here. Let's make a very rich dark plum for this. And you can see what happened, look, because I had yellow on my brush already, it started to go green, you see. So I need to give this a really good clean. In fact, I'll switch brushes. Let's go for another flat brush. It's always a good idea if you have yellows on your brush, don't try to mix green, don't try to mix pinks or plums with it, okay? Just change your brush. Now let's take some crimson. Let's get some cadmium red. And this now will have a lot of red in it, okay? Only a tiny, tiny amount of the blue. Let me get some crimson. So I'm a very, very rich plum here now, alright? And I need even more red than that. Let's go for some cadmium red. Warm it up nicely. And I'm going to go for even more red. Let's get some crimson and cadmium red in here. It's really, really very red. There's a lot. I know you don't think it by looking at it initially, but when you study the colours, there's really a lot of dark reds in here. Now, I'm just kind of pulling this in loosely just to fill it in. Then as it comes out towards the edge, I'm going to start darkening it. Let me get some phaylo blue with some crimson. And it gets very dark then as it comes out here, doesn't it? And little flicks coming down, and it disappears up into the canvas up there. So, give the brush a wipe and let's get some blue. Let's get some rich phaylo blue into this pink. And we have a lot of dark blue over here. And there's even a hint, there's probably a hint of black in this as well. Let's go with some phaylo blue and take a hint of black. Now what I'm going to do is take some burnt umber and lots of crimson. Again, there's no thinners in this. Let's get that nice rich colour in there. And we put some of that colour at the back of some of these clouds here. So I'm building it up now slowly, very, very slowly as I go along. And I'm just going to sort of taper some of these, just stagger them slightly so they're not completely perfect. You see, kind of drag it across as if it's being dragged across the sky. The cloud is being pulled across by the wind. There we go. So, how's this looking so far? That's not bad, is it? Okay, let me have a look at what brushes I have at hand here. Oh, let's see. I think I'll just keep using what I have. In fact, you know what? I'll switch. I'll get to a slightly smaller brush. And I'm going to start warming some of these, okay? I'm going to start putting in some nice warm oranges around some of these. So let's go for some crimson with some cadmium yellow deep. And I'm going to start off now with a lot of crimson again, okay? I don't want to go with just pure yellow. I just want to start warming it slightly, you see? Especially down around the edges where you can see that rich sun hitting off the cloud. And just go along, take your time. There's no rush whatsoever. I probably have to kind of rush a little bit because I'm conscious of the time for my tutorial. But you can really take your time with this now at home. Don't rush at all, okay? Stop halfway through, make a cup of coffee. Just enjoy your painting. Now, more orange again. More rich orange. Let's get a nice dark rich colour up there. Pop a few around there. Pop one or two in up there. Look, just where the light might be catching some of these. In fact, I go for a nice rich pink up here. Add a little bit of a pink across some of those, you see. Because they're a dark, plummy, bluey colour, the lights are going to, light reflecting from the sun will be a kind of a pinky shade. Now, I'm just going to soften them in slightly. Let me just soften this just ever so gently outwards. And I'm going to just suggest one or two going off in the distance here, just to balance out that large cloud, because it looks like it's overpowering the canvas. Maybe I made it too big, possibly, but it just looks like it's overpowering the sky just slightly. So I'm going to just try and balance it slightly by adding a few around it, okay? I'm going to go up, actually up here, bring that up a bit. And a couple more, just kind of darting across. Because when painting the skies like this, you have to think about composition. Composition is very, very important in a sky like this. So for instance, you don't want everything on one side. That will overpower your painting. So I'm going to put a few of these nice, rich, pinky ones over here. Okay, just with some crimson and a little of the phthalo blue, but it's really almost just crimson on its own. Because what will happen is, when you put it on, it'll start mixing with the yellow anyway, and start giving you different tones, different colours and that kind of thing. Now, a couple of darks up here, on the back sides of some of these. Okay, and let's bring one perhaps just here, just to fill that gap. And again, you know, you have to be careful not to overdo this as well. Don't put little bits everywhere, okay? You know, because I want the focus to be on that bright sun in the center. So I'm going to leave that, maybe just put one or two small little ones just here and there down on this side here, okay? And maybe just one or two across here as well. So let me sit back now for a moment and just take a look at this so far. I'm not worried about the center because we have trees coming up here anyway, don't we? Lovely trees. I'm going to add a little bit more blue into this one over here, just to suggest the sky popping through here and there. So I'm going to take a small round brush. Okay, I'm going to take some phthalo blue. I'm going to mix that light plummy colour that we have in the background there, okay? Let me see, is this... No, we're almost there. It's just a very light plum, isn't it? Pinky kind of a plum. Okay, that'll do. Just want to add the suggestion of some of that sky popping through here and there, okay? So you see, you can kind of fill in the negatives as well as you're going. The negative space can be the cloud in the background, the sky in the background. Okay? If you feel that you've overdone it, just add a little here and there. So, my next step now is to get a soft brush, and I want to just kind of soften some of these together gently. I'm going to take a very soft kind of a makeup brush here, okay? This is what I tend to use from time to time. Makeup brushes. In painting, not on myself obviously. But there's nothing wrong with that either. Let's just soften some of these into the sky, because I don't want to show all these rough brush strokes. I want it to be a sort of nice soft sunset. Okay? See, just soften everything together. Just enough. Now let's sit back and just take a fast look at what we have so far. No, that's not bad, is it? Okay, I'm happy enough with that. Time for some lights. And this is where the fun starts now. This is where it gets really interesting. Let me just take a sip of coffee. Now, pointy brush, and I'm going to start putting in some of the lights around here. So I want to get some cadmium yellow. Let's work with some yellows here now, okay? And cadmium yellow deep. Two of those. What you want is a nice rich, kind of a deep yellow. Okay, let's start with that first. I don't want to go too bright, too early on. So a deep yellow. And let's just start adding. So you can see now, for instance, there, okay? That'll be my first, just there. And I'll add a little hint of it just around here as well. So the sun is coming up and it's catching the underneath of the clouds. So on this side, it'll catch the right-hand side, okay? And on the other side of the painting, it's going to catch the left-hand side of those clouds, you see? Does that make sense? Now you want a nice, rich, deep colour, okay? Even a very rich orange to begin with. And then I'm sort of softening that orange up into the cloud. I'm kind of flicking it upwards into the cloud, you see? And just kind of experiment, have a bit of fun. Have a bit of fun with it. Just, you know, don't be trying to concentrate too much on getting it absolutely perfect. Because, you know, there's no painting absolutely perfect in life, I don't think. No, my philosophy on painting in general is that each painting is a masterpiece in its own right. It doesn't matter if it's just a scribble, whatever it is. In that person's eyes, that could be a masterpiece. So therefore, I feel that each painting is a masterpiece in its own right. And I don't think anybody should have the right to say, no, it's not nice, it's, you know, it's completely wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong. It's just the way I feel. I think people think they take, I think people take painting much too seriously sometimes. And in general, I think the art world takes painting much too seriously. I think, look, it's painting, it's a bit of fun, you know, you're expressing yourself onto the canvas. Don't take it too seriously. Just it's a bit of fun, you know. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, and you know, if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to learn, are you? So that's just my thought on painting in general. You know, I see a lot of comments from some people, and it's just really nasty comments. I don't like that. You know, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. That's my philosophy in life. I just like to be nice to people, and you know, I suppose give a critique, try to help, but I'd never say to someone, look, it's just not nice. I think that's very negative. It's a very negative outlook in life. Just to go and say to someone, no, it's not nice, I don't like it. So that's my rant over. Now, I'm being careful with my yellows. I don't want to overkill the yellows too much. Soften them back there. I want to put a hint of some nice oranges on this side over here. Well, kind of more pinks, really. Let me take some crimson, a little cadmium red, and a little yellow. And I want to put a hint of some light catching some of these. And that's quite nice, isn't it? We have some nice warm colours catching these over here. Some nice kind of warm oranges in there, you can see those. Take a bit of yellow, a little bit of cadmium red, and let's just go in and put a little hint of that colour in there, just here and there, okay? So, how are we looking with this so far? Now again, I'm going to take my soft brush and I'm going to very gently soften some of these together, okay? I just want to get a nice soft effect. I should have a smaller brush really, but I don't have anything to hand. This is all I have at the moment. But any little soft brush will do absolutely fine for this, okay? You can see I'm really taking my time with this painting, with this tutorial. I want this to be really a real nice tutorial. I want you to learn something from it. Now if I have to do a part 2, I'll have to do a part 2. But I want to really do a nice tutorial for you. Okay, now I'm going to add some of the really bright ones. And then I think I call this part 1 finished, okay? But I will be back very soon with part 2. I'll be back in the morning tomorrow, which is Sunday. Let's take some cadmium yellow pale, a little white, and we have a nice real luminous bright yellow, don't we? And let's go up here and let's just give that nice bright luminous yellow sort of just on the edges of some of the clouds there, okay? Little bit up there. You see, it's just catching some of them. It's just not all of them. Just one or two. Just on sort of the edges. And I'm very happy with this. I think this turned out very nice so far. It's not finished yet. It could all still go horribly wrong. But for now, I'm happy enough. You know? Soften it back, just slightly. And let's take some more yellow and white. Let's pop a tiny amount up there. I won't go too far back with the yellow and the white because it's primarily kind of around the centre, isn't it? I'll put a couple just around here, and I might just put a few dabs of rich yellow on its own, just here and there, just to suggest very rich clouds really catching some of the light back behind the trees, okay? My friends, I will leave it at that, I think. I don't want to overkill my sky. I might add just a few small ones with a small brush on this side. See, just little ones way off in the distance. And perhaps just refine one or two of these. As well. Now I might also, with a slightly roundy brush, okay, put in some real strong darks. I might get some black, some phthalo blue with some crimson, and there is a lot of dark ones over here. I'm just going to pop a few really dark ones in, and that'll give a real nice contrast, I think. Okay, get some more crimson in that. Up here is really dark as well. Nice dark spots. And up here, just one or two dark spots as well, just on the backs of these clouds. And I won't overkill it, as I said, so I think I'll just leave this as it is. And I might call it part 1 finished. Let me just stand back for a moment now and take a quick look at this. What I will do is just soften ever so gently some of the yellows. Okay, and then I might just take a very bright splash of yellow with a hint of white, okay, just for the center. Drag some of that across there, look. And then a tiny amount of white mixed in. Let's just give it a little bit more luminosity right in the center there, okay? Because remember, we'll have a very rich dark tree in behind all of this. So we want it nice and bright. Okay, that's it, my friends. Part 1 finished. Let me zoom in and show you. Isn't that lovely? Nice simple clouds. I hope you've gotten something from that. Let me just turn the camera here now. I hope you can see me okay. There we go. No, not bad. I'll have to hold it. I hope you've gotten something nice from that. That's really nice now so far. I'm very happy with how that has turned out. I'll be right back with part 2. I'll keep painting it. I just need to set my camera again, and I'll edit part 1, get that uploaded, which you're watching. I'll be back with part 2 very soon, tomorrow, at the latest, okay? Thank you so much for watching me. I hope you've learned something about colour mixing, and please leave a comment. Good or bad, I don't mind. I really don't mind. But just try to be constructive if you're leaving a negative comment. Constructive, okay? Thank you so much. God bless you all. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll be right back. Happy painting.